Yeah, speaking of moving buttons around,
Yep.
um, okay, time is 12:02. It is Wednesday, August 12th, 12 noon, 12:02 p.m. Welcome everybody to the semi-annual public meeting of the Upper Housatonic Valley National Heritage Area. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the Housatonic Heritage YouTube channel forevermore. Um, we do this at least twice annually in compliance with Public Law 109-338. That was 2006. It created the Upper Housatonic Valley National Heritage Area as an actual national heritage area. We are administered through the Department of Interior and the National Park Service, and we serve the about 1,000 square miles of the Housatonic River watershed. And we thrive, we live with the partnerships that have been created over the past 25 years. And we'll hear from a number of those partners at today's meeting. It is the heart and soul of what we do as an organization. And we have so many amazing partners and partnerships, and it's at the core of the programming that we do and the presence that we hope to share in the communities that we serve. So anyway, thank you all for joining. Um, we are reachable at housatonicheritage.org. Our office number is 860-435-9505. I'm very accessible. Our general email box is info@housatonicheritage.org. And I hope you'll reach out if you have questions or you need to clarify anything. I want to thank especially the Board of Trustees of Housatonic Heritage. They're an amazing group of people that allow me to do the work as executive director to facilitate these partnerships, to act as a catalyst for heritage ideas to help them become heritage programs. We've facilitated a number of great programs, either as direct management of the programs or as fiscal sponsor of the program, and a lot of some of those have gone on to then create their own 501(c)(3)s and continue to thrive and grow today. So I'm especially grateful for the Board of Trustees and the support they've shown me and this organization over the past 2.5 decades. It's been amazing. Thank you to Mariah for running logistics today. It's a great help in the world of Zoom. And especially thanks to the many partners and partner organizations that keep the National Heritage Area program alive and breathing and doing what we do. So thank you very much for that. If you have any questions during any of the presentations or anything that I've talked about, please drop them into the chat function. We'll address them as we can, either live in real time or at the end of the session today. And with that, I'll introduce the board chair, chair of the Board of Trustees, Rob Hoogs.
Hi, thank you, Dan. Thank you all for joining us today. It's always inspirational to me, and I think to the rest of the board of directors, to hear and see the results of all the multiple programs that Housatonic Heritage is involved with and stewards and foments and stimulates in a very positive way. Uh, and It's such a joy to host this semi-annual meeting, to hear some of those results of those programs. It's also inspirational to read Dan's monthly reports of all the organizations and activities that he's involved with on our behalf. And This is, I think, a superb example of a public-private partnership in action and doing great work throughout the 1,000 square miles. I didn't know that statistic before, Dan, so thank you for letting us know that. That's remarkable. So without further ado, turn it over back to Dan to introduce the speakers.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you, Rob. Couldn't do it without the support of the board. I want to quickly acknowledge the trustees of Housatonic Heritage, Catherine Boughton, North Canaan, Maureen Dorr in Sharon, Connecticut, Brittany Ebling, who's the executive director of Berkshire Environmental Action Team, Mariah Fogg, assisting today, New England Program Coordinator for the Land Trust Alliance, Leslie Hertzberg, Executive Director of Berkshire County Historical Society, Rob Hoogs, Monterey Historical Commission and Bidwell House Museum, Paul Ivory, who's board member emeritus and is also chair of the Great Barrington Historical Commission, Gary Levier, Great Barrington Historical Society, Aaliyah Del Molino, Conservation Director at Green Acres, Paul O'Brien, Education Coordinator at Sheffield Historical Society, Eric Reardon, our partner for our office in Pittsfield, is Eric is Berkshire Watershed Director for Housatonic Valley Association, and Marge Smith, curator for Kent Historical Society. So, an esteemed board of trustees, thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel the support every time I meet with you or talk with you. One other set of acknowledgments, and the National Heritage Area Program was created initially under the administration of Ronald Reagan in 1984, an unlikely pairing of public and private. But the National Heritage Areas actually came into being first under Ronald Reagan's administration. But I want to say that ever since day one, this has been an extremely bipartisan program. There are now 62 of these National Heritage Areas nationwide, and we enjoy immense support from both sides of the aisle. So I do want to specifically thank our congressional delegation from Connecticut and Massachusetts, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes, Senator Chris Murphy, Senator Richard Blumenthal, all of Connecticut, and in Massachusetts, Congressman Richie Neal, Senator Ed Markey, and Senator Elizabeth Warren, who have all consistently shown their support for this program. So my thanks to all of them. Let me quickly run through programs. Some of these are legacy, some of these are extremely active, some are fairly new, but this is at the core of what we do. Our Iron Heritage Trail, which was the core of how we came into being to begin with. The African American Heritage Trail, which we continue to make great progress with. We'll hear from Francis Jones Sneed later in the program about a new publication that we're working on. Native American Heritage Trail, where we work very closely with the Stockbridge-Muncie community band of Mohican Indians. The Housatonic Heritage Oral History Center at Berkshire Community College, a wonderful partnership. And Judith Monachina, who will present, heads up that center. The Du Bois National Historic Site Program, which includes the Du Bois Freedom Center, that Housatonic Heritage was the fiscal sponsor for to get that program running. But we have many, many partners all working to interpret the legacy of Du Bois in and around Great Barrington. The Heritage Trails and Greenways program, which provides assistance for trail development, Operation Pollination, which we do a lot of work behind the scenes, and you'll hear more about that in the future as we have new initiatives. Heritage Walks, this year will be the 24th annual Heritage Walks weekends in September. That publication, the brochure, has hit the streets already. And our Heritage Partnership Grant Program, which supports a lot of wonderful initiatives, helps a lot of programs get off the ground, helps to sustain a lot of important programs that we're extremely proud of. And then the Western New England Greenway, which is a multi-state bike route from Norwalk, Connecticut to the Canadian border. So Housatonic Heritage is a really diverse organization. We support a lot of different programs that seek to immerse people in the amazing and diverse heritage of the Upper Housatonic Valley. So I hope you'll visit our website if you want to learn more about any of those programs, because they're all there in great detail. And again, thank you to all of our partners that make that possible. I'm going to turn it over now to Judith Monachina. She is the director of the Housatonic Heritage Oral History Center at Berkshire Community College. Thank you, Judith.
Hi, thank you. And thank you, Board of Directors and Dan, for supporting this program at BCC. It's an amazing, hopefully you'll agree. I'll show you some slides. I'm going to try to share the screen here. Yeah. So going quickly through this, thank you again. We've done a lot of interesting things this year. I'm going to start with right at the beginning. We had a biennial symposium in May, and some of you were there. This one was about oral history and community building, which I thought was good theme for this period of time that we're living in. People being isolated and needing connection, and so how to use oral history to do that. We had some interesting, fun projects. This woman with her hands in front of her face represents one of them that talked at the program. I won't talk about that much, but I just wanted to mention it. It was a theme that we'll continue with going forward. About archives, we're always working on helping groups get their work into the archives. Sheffield Land Trust is finally is in, and they will be up and running soon. It took a few years to digital copy, and we hired Housatonic Heritage supported an intern for that, to digital copy all the cassettes and to get things ready for the archive. Judy Magenis was the one who did the on-the-ground work of metadata and all that. We've done a bunch of consults this year, but I just want to talk about two of them. One of them, Pittsfield High School with the NAACP. You will remember years ago, right at the beginning of the center, we did a project with the NAACP, an oral history project. And it's had a lot of manifestations out in the world, including a beautiful Berkshire Museum exhibit. Dennis Powell is on the slide here. That's one of the portraits from that program. And this year, Ahmad Jamal invited me to come to speak with a group of students at Pittsfield High School about storytelling, and also invited Dennis and Shirley Edgerton were invited first, and then I was invited. And the cool thing about it was the students had listened to the entire interviews of Dennis and Shirley, and were asking them questions about their lives. So it was about stories about our lives, and they were super engaged.
That's probably gonna be the easiest way for you to do when you do the box. Wait one second.
A lot of fun. So Berkshire Public Theater, we did something a little different with them this year. That Fragments poster, someone had written a play about his experience of losing a partner during the AIDS crisis. He wrote a play based on his own story, and they invited me to do the talk back, which was something new that we'd never done before as the Oral History Center, about keeping stories safe. And that's just mentioning a few of the consults that we do sort of every year. We continue to interpret paper, of course, the paper making in the region. And this year we decided to do some research because of the 250th anniversary, on the history of paper and the importance of paper in the revolution. And we learned that indeed, without paper, it's hard to imagine that revolution would have happened. We had an intern here for a year, history department student, doing research with me. And then we teamed up with the mastheads to do 3 inserts that went into the Berkshire Eagle. One of them was about the history of paper and the revolution. One of them was about local paper making. And then Sarah's on the call here, so she may talk about the third one, which was about their work. And they went into the Berkshire Eagle to all of the Saturday subscribers on July 4th, July 11th, and July 18th. So that was exciting. Again, we're continuing with paper. We're redoing the paper trail website, and the Eagle Mill, which was the second oldest mill in the county. The apartments that was converted into apartments, and the apartments just opened last week. They're really gorgeous. If anyone's looking for an apartment, market rate and below, so affordable housing. And so we will have, I'm talking with the developer and the manager about a small but permanent kind of space to tell the story of paper making in the region. I'm going to skip along to helping people get stuff into the archives, including the Scoville Library. I'm very excited about that. Another collaboration. Lee Historical Middle High School is going to do an oral history project with Lee Historical to coincide with their 250th anniversary, which is next year. And I'm helping organize that. And the Green Agers, which is a lot of fun, is doing something called Fodder, which is a storytelling event on September 27th. Inviting farmers to tell stories. This, I think, is their second or third year of doing Fodder, but this is the first year that they've reached out to us to help with getting things permanently archived and open to, available for people to see after the event. Dan and I talked about roadhouses, which is an old project that was sort of dropped by a partner, and so we're trying to pick that up. And I'm showing you a picture here of a show that we have called Talking Shop on CTSB. The guy on our right with the brown shirt, that's Bob Shepard, and he's an audio engineer and a lifelong musician, and he's helping us revive the Roadhouses project. And finally, the library at Berkshire Community College is being named for Ruth Edmonds Hill. Very exciting. She's a local person who grew up here. She was a librarian. She's a great, great, great something granddaughter of Samuel Harrison. She was, I may have said already, she was a librarian at BCC for a while. She went to work at Harvard Schlesinger Center, and and so they're going to name the library for her very soon. They have already named it, but the name hasn't gone up. And when it does, we will have a big storytelling event. So I will keep you all posted on that. It's very exciting to have a library named after an oral historian like Ruth Edmonds Hill, who was active in the Oral History Association, and that's how I got to know her briefly, but it's exciting. And thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Judith. And I apologize. I meant to introduce Judith, and let me introduce Judith in hindsight here, right? My oversight. So Judith Monachina is the director of the Housatonic Heritage Oral History Center at Berkshire Community College. The Oral History Center helps people plan and implement sustainable oral history projects and properly care for their new and existing collections. The center assists with various stages of a project, from planning to interviewing and then archiving, often connecting small organizations or people with professionals who can help them. The center creates a clearinghouse of information and resources, an alliance of professionals and volunteers who share information in the effort to improve oral history practice and bring oral history into new settings and to new audiences. And of course, Judith is also our paper heritage expert. So thank you so much, Judith, and thanks for all the work you do, pushing the Oral History Center program forward for us.
Thank you.
Frances Jones Sneed is presenting next, and she is so modest but so accomplished. So I wrote bits and pieces of a quick bio for Frances from stuff I found on the internet. So I know all this is true, but Frances Jones Sneed is a historian, writer, educator, and community cultural worker whose life and work bridge the Deep South and rural New England. Personal memory and public history, and scholarship in grassroots education. Frances is a professor emeritus of history at Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts and has taught and researched local history for over 30 years. She is also known for directing several National Endowment for the Humanities grants focused on African American biography. And Frances is leading a new program to develop and publish a visitor's guide. And I'll turn it over to Frances.
Thank you, Dan, for that lovely introduction. I will be brief and give all the time that I have left to Judith. Oh, thank you for putting up that lovely new cover to the guide that we are trying to do. We've been working on this guide for about a year now. It's a revision of the 2006 Upper Housatonic African American Trail Guide. That was a 250-page book. This will be a handheld paperback book, which we will distribute free to anybody who wishes to partake of it coming to the Berkshires. We have had a snag in that we lost our graphic artist, our graphic designer. And so we're starting new with, I just met with a graphic designer who's going to be working with us, and also a new person on our maps. So we're hoping this will be done by the end of 2026. We were hoping that we would have it ready for June 1 for the summer traffic, but it will have to wait for the summer traffic of 2027. And I'd just like to thank Dan for his support, not only financial support, but psychological support of holding our hands through this project with the ups and downs of it. And Judith Monachino, who has been so gracious in helping us with some of the stories that we include within the guide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frances. And yeah, she is far too modest. She is a powerhouse getting the work like this done, and it wouldn't even be considered without her leadership. So thank you so much, Frances. It's going to be
Thank you, Dan.
it's going to be amazing when we get there. Sarah Trudgeon has joined us. She is literary director of The Mastheads, which is a unique writer's residency and public humanities project in the Berkshires, and Housatonic Heritage has proudly fiscally sponsored this program since its outset in 2016. So I'll turn it over to Sarah for more information about The Mastheads.
Thanks, Dan. And it's so great to hear everything that Housatonic Heritage does. It's unbelievable. It is so many things. It's just, I feel so grateful to be part of this group. So this is an image of our residency finale here, our final reading, which we call the Lantern Party at Arrowhead. If you go to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit more about with this. So, back to the back one.
Sorry, I scrolled a little fast. There we go. Is this good?
Okay. Yes, that's it.
Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. So every year we run a writer's residency where we invite writers from across the country to apply to come live in Pittsfield and work in 5 sculptural architectural studios installed at Melville's Arrowhead. Each studio is named for a writer who lived or worked in Pittsfield in the Berkshires. And every year we get tons of applications for this program, and we select 5 writers. This year our 5 writers were Amy Hayes Young, Rachel Lapidus, Devin Walker Figueroa, Maggie Mull, and Anne Marie Dorr. They stayed for 3 weeks in a farmhouse across from Arrowhead and then worked in the studios every day. And the picture you just saw was their sort of finale when we invited people to come hear what the residents had written on Melville's land for 3 weeks and to explore the studios. Outside of that, we offer a day residency program where anyone can come work in the studios for a day, anybody working on a creative project. And we've had we've had rabbis there working on their sermons. We've had textile artists and musicians, and so it's really fun. We have an archive of all of those projects that have also been completed there at Arrowhead. Okay, next. You can go to the next one. Is this next or is it? Is this? Yeah. Okay. So then, so
Sorry.
that's okay. It's okay. Um, so the next one, so that's in the summer, and then throughout the school year, we operate a poetry in schools program called Fireside, where students writing, uh, are participating in poetry workshops where they write original poetry. Many of the poems that they write are inspired by works that were written in the Berkshires. So they're reading little excerpts of Melville or Thoreau or Hawthorne, and then their own poems inspired by those little excerpts. This year, we served 260 students from second grade to high school, and we try to really immerse students in this program. So it's not just a one-off workshop. We really try to go for 6 to 10 weeks. And at the end of that program, we have a celebration. Students perform their work. We print a poetry anthology, and we use lines of their poems in public design projects so that everybody in the Berkshires can see the work that is written by our current, we call our students the current Berkshire authors. So these are the Berkshire authors of today. Okay, next slide. Yes, nailed it, Mark. Um, we also last spring piloted an arts and literacy fellowship for Pittsfield High School students. And this year we had our second year of the Arts and Literacy Fellowship. It provides students with multimedia arts sector experience, including instruction in visual art, poetry, songwriting, bookmaking, graphic design, and what we've learned, the very best part, sales. So the students create several final products. They put together a poetry anthology, and they put together broadside posters, and then at 3 separate events, they were able to sell their work to the community. So this we discovered during a pilot was a really special part of the process because students were able to make these things and then see people come to them and want to buy the things that they made and want to just like really want their art and want the things that they made. And it was just so fun. I just handed them my phone and they did the tapping and, it was just the best. So this is them writing a song with Johnny Irion, who's a local singer songwriter. Okay, next slide. So Judith mentioned a little bit about our third fold, the third fold in this newspaper series. The third fold displayed poetry broadsides that our high school students made. So they read poems that were written by elementary school students in the Fireside program, selected their favorites, and then through a series of design workshops and a field trip to MCLA, created broadside posters. And these posters were printed on paper that was made in Lee. So it was part of the paper project. They were printed at the Onyx Mill in Lee, who generously donated all of this paper, this gorgeous paper. So they're just a completely locally made product. And the newspaper fold reproduced these folds so that more and more people could see them. And they're totally gorgeous, and everybody really wants one, and it's so fun for the students to see how much people want their art. Besides that, we published a book, A Couple Thousand Things I Like, Poetry and Art from Morningside Community School, which closed now, and so we're really proud to have this beautiful book, this archive of poetry written by Morningside students just before the closing of that school. And that incorporates poetry and art by those students. Another design project, we made poetry temporary tattoos. So at our events, students were able to wear these lines of poetry that they wrote, and those were also so fun. I think a lot of our work is around how do you make poetry accessible? How do you make the literary traditions of the Berkshires belong to everyone. And so we're always looking for unique ways to do that. And the poetry tattoos were, I think, successful in that. Okay, next. We hosted a few events, Party in Kellogg Park, which we do every year, a free party for Morningside families. We had a paper party at Hot Plate Brewing where students sold their work and community members could hear from our residents. And then you saw the photo of the lantern party in the barn at Arrowhead. Okay, next one. And then next year we'll just continue to strengthen these programs. We'll host our 11th writers residency. We'll continue with poetry workshops in throughout public schools in the Berkshires. We will continue our arts and literacy fellowship, and we'll continue thinking of unique ways to get student work out into the community. Thank you again, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. That yeah, it's always inspirational to hear how you and the mastheads are keeping the legacy of literature current and moving forward. It's not all about history. It's about heritage, and it's about engagement, and it's that you're working in the schools and engaging students is yeah, it's perfect in my book. So thank you.
Yeah.
Always good to hear from you. It's just inspiring. So thanks. Yeah, so August, it's so great to finally have met you by email. I've worked with Rebecca on Connecticut History Day for so many years now, and to finally be introduced to you. So let me introduce August Stromberger. August is the Secondary Education Programs Coordinator for the Connecticut Democracy Center and assists Rebecca Tabor with Connecticut History Day. For those who are familiar or may not be familiar, Connecticut History Day is an affiliate program of National History Day, an annual program that engages thousands of middle and high school students in historical research, interpretation, and creative expression through project-based learning, and they are at historydayct.org. So thank you, August.
Very much, Dan. I'm really glad to be here today and to have the chance to talk about History Day. You give a fantastic introduction, so I'll just get right to it. Connecticut History Day is a project-based learning program based out of the Connecticut Democracy Center. I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide, but we are one of 58 National History Day affiliates. So that's across the entire US, and there are some international affiliates as well. We can go to the next slide, and I'll give you a little impression of the Connecticut Democracy Center. So under the Connecticut Democracy Center exists the CTN, or Connecticut Network, and the Connecticut's Old State House, which is what we are based out of. The Old State House, of course, built in 1796, is open to the public. There are the traditional 3 branches of Connecticut government that are preserved that people can come visit. But there are a number of programs that are operated out of the Old State House. History Day is one of those, of course, but Connecticut's Kid Governor program is another that my colleagues work very hard on. We offer school programs that teach civics to grade schoolers, K through 12, as well as some Connecticut history programs as well. We also teach Project Citizen, which is a another project-based learning educational opportunity that sees students learning to engage with systems of local government and solving problems in their community. And we also operate our branch of the We the People program, which kind of helps students test their skills of constitutional law. You can go ahead to the next slide, please. So let's talk about History Day. At a fundamental level, History Day teaches some vital skills for any students, critical thinking, writing, research, etc. Studies have shown that it boosts performance across all subjects, not just history, and additionally prepares students for college, career, and citizenship. And many testimonies from History Day alums have sort of spoken to the fact that History Day inspires students in many different ways. It teaches them confidence as well, not just some of these skills. It's an opportunity for some students to engage in a type of project that they might not have had the opportunity to really engage with so far, and really connect with their community as well, which is why I'm really excited to kind of talk about some of our work, and particularly as it pertains to kind of the Northwest area of Connecticut leading into History Day 2027. Let's go to the next slide, please. For those who might not be familiar with History Day, students can create a project in one of 5 different categories. They can write a paper, they can create an exhibit. You can see one in the picture on this slide. They can film a documentary, they can host a live performance, or they can create a website. So there are robust options for students, and plenty of tools, workshops, etc., to help students learn some of the skills required to, for example, create a website or film a documentary on their chosen topic. And typically these topics, are at least 20 years old, such that there are primary sources that can be found, and there's enough time that has passed to kind of understand what some of the impacts have been from some of these topics. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the path of a CHD project for students takes many months, beginning as early as this summer. We had our nationals in June this year, but immediately following the national contest in College Park, Maryland, the theme is for the next year's revealed. This coming year's theme will be innovation in history, kind of examining not just what different inventions have looked like as far as innovations are concerned, but political innovations, social innovations. It covers a very broad range. So students learn about the coming year's theme. There are opportunities for them to explore their interests, select a topic and a project category that really speaks to their strengths and their interests. Research is an important component, and one that we are excited to help students through, and help them develop some of those skills. And then following this, developing their argument, drafting their thesis and argument based on their research. Last but not least, creating their project based on the category rules. So physically constructing and tweaking their exhibit or documentary, for example. And on the following slide, which we can go to, I will talk a little bit about the structure. So I don't mention it on this slide, but even before the regional level, there are some schools in the state that host school-wide competitions. So it's a great opportunity for history teachers in schools to engage their students, to focus on project-based learning. And if students are interested and feel inclined to do so, they can compete in one of 5 regional contests that we operate and organize and manage. The top students from these regional contests compete in May at the state competition hosted at Central Connecticut State University. And then the top students from the state contest get to attend the national competition in College Park. Every year, it's a great opportunity for our Connecticut students to meet their representatives. I think you can see our photo with Senators Blumenthal and Murphy in the bottom corner there. It's an opportunity for them to again, visit these central places in our nation's history. It's an opportunity for them to meet other students and engage with their peers, and to really kind of develop some of that confidence from making it all the way to this national level. But it's a fantastic opportunity for students. We can go to the next slide.
Wow.
So I mentioned that there were 5 regions. You can kind of see a rough map of them here. We have the Northwest region I will get into because it sort of concerns some of the organizations that might be present in this call here today. So this past year, Connecticut History Day served almost 5,000 students across 96 schools. This is including students who may not have attended a contest, but created a History Day project in their classroom. The Torrington or Northwestern region in green here served a little over 1,000 students and 18 schools. We are always looking to expand, connect with social studies teachers, and really present the idea of History Day to people who might not have had the opportunity or some of the awareness about what it can offer their students. So that gives a very quick picture of our impact. If we go to the next slide, sort of touched on this before, but again, studies have shown that History Day students outperform their peers on standardized tests. They've had better writing scores, and for some students who might not be as interested in classroom academics, it's seen a very positive impact for really helping them engage with their interests in ways that sometimes textbooks or classroom learning cannot. And once again, higher levels of interest in history, civic engagement critically, and confidence as it pertains to research skills and sort of broad, in a broad way throughout their lives. So on the next slide, I'd really love to talk about some of our community connections at our Northwest, formerly Torrington Regional Contest this past year. We were incredibly lucky to work with 5 Points Art Studio, the Stanley Whitman House, and the Torrington Historical Society. The Stanley Whitman House led an interactive living history station that explored colonial perspectives during the Revolutionary War. The Torrington Historical Society offered students attending the contest an opportunity to learn about museum collections, exhibits, research, and get up and really engage with some artifacts in a fantastic way. The 5 Point Arts Center kind of offered some community art information and activities. So the contests themselves are not just about History Day. They're also an opportunity for organizations in the community to really engage, to be present and visible to students, and to connect with teachers and volunteer judges as well. So on the final slide, that kind of ties to my call to all of you. We want you to get involved. We are incredibly excited that our Northwestern contest this coming year, last year was hosted at Torrington Middle School. They were a fantastic host, but we're very excited to host this regional contest at Connecticut State Community College, Tungus in Farmington. The contest will take place on March 30th, and there are many, many opportunities to get involved, both at an individual level and an organizational level. We are always excited to offer History Day workshops and collaborate on History Day workshops for teaching research skills, critical thinking, writing, etc. There are many facets that if you want to partner, there are great ways to get involved. For example, we're hosting a primary source workshop later this month that focuses on photograph analysis, which is really critical, particularly for documentary and exhibits projects. But there are opportunities to sort of integrate as far as outreach is concerned, to help spread the word and to kind of communicate about your organization as well. We are always thrilled to have organizations show up, even just set up a table at a regional contest, talk about the work the organization is doing, get in front of the eyes of students, hundreds of students and teachers, but also to offer programming and fun hands-on learning opportunities for students as well. And last but not least, we rely on volunteer judges to make these contests happen at all. It's a fantastic opportunity to kind of see what kids in the 6 through 12 category are learning about how they're engaging with these ideas. I personally find it really inspiring to see how hard they work, and also to meet other, history and civics aligned folks who volunteer as well. So it's great from a networking perspective, but also in a sense of really engaging with Connecticut's youth and helping steward their love of learning and history. Um, so in the interest of time, I will leave it off there, but I hope I've um, convinced some folks to get involved or maybe even volunteer to judge for History Day.
Yeah, excellent. You're a great front man, August. I'll tell
Thank you,
you,
Dan.
and the work that you, Rebecca, and everyone at the Connecticut Democracy Center, it's exhausting just to watch you guys in motion. So, thank you. We're pleased to be a sponsor and um, I, support the work that you do. It's incredible.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that,
We're super
yeah,
grateful, and once again, very glad to have gotten the chance
yeah,
to.
yeah. And thanks for taking the time to join us today too. Appreciate that. Next up, another regional program worth its weight in gold, Northwest Connecticut Arts Council. Steph Burr, Executive Director. Quick introduction. She is Executive Director of Northwest Connecticut Arts Council. It's one of 8 regional arts councils designated by the Connecticut Office of the Arts, which is a branch of the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. So thank you, Steph.
Thanks so much, Dan. I'm just going to share my screen. Make sure I get the right one. Here we go. Can you see it okay?
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having us here today. We are a mighty staff of 2 at the Arts Council, and like Dan said, we are one of the arts councils designated by the state of Connecticut. Despite that, it only accounts for about 25% of our annual funding. So for the rest of our funding, we do have to rely on grant writing and individual fundraising. So this funding coming from Housatonic Heritage is incredibly valuable to us to allow us to continue to do this work and provide all of our services for free to our constituents. So we represent 25 towns in Northwest Connecticut. And despite the Arts Council name, we serve the entire cultural sector as a whole, including historical societies, libraries, museums, and then your classic performing arts centers, artists. And we also do a lot of work with businesses, creative businesses, and individual artists as well. So in 2024, we did a post-COVID regional needs assessment study, and we found that one of the biggest areas of need amongst our arts and culture sector is help with spreading the word about what they're doing, marketing. So with the sort of decline of newspapers as the reliable source of information for local events, we are stepping into a role of becoming that central source of information for the cultural community here in Northwest Connecticut. Some of our programs include an online events calendar. Last year, we had a little over 9,000 community events posted. We send out an email every week, which includes funding opportunities, upcoming events, and anyone who emails me with some kind of opportunity, we stick it in the newsletter. We have about 10,000 subscribers on there. And then every month we also create a printed calendar. We really believe in meeting people where they are, and we have a lot of constituents who prefer to still stay off the screens and get their information via a printed source in the mail. So we're keeping that program alive, and it's incredibly popular. We also keep a arts funding page maintained on our website whenever we get information about grants We keep that up to date, and we keep a blog to do some storytelling and documentation of the history that's being made in the culture in our region every day here. We also really believe in this day and age, loneliness epidemic, in keeping in-person events alive. We host quarterly networking events, which are free and open to anyone to attend. We usually get a great turnout, about 60 to 80 people at each event. And it's really proven to be very helpful in creating these connections within the creative ecosystem here in Northwest Connecticut. One of my favorite projects, we do an annual art supply drive where we partner with Torrington area families for autism, and we help them collect all their art supplies for their arts program every year. Just some stats on the calendar and the reach. Last year, or over the course of the last 12 months, we've had a little over 9,000 events. We have 373 individual users submitting events. These are different arts organizations or individuals hosting events across 213 venues. And this is a regional aggregate calendar. So instead of just going to one place, our constituents can post to one calendar, and this actually goes out to 42 partner websites as well. So town calendars, Discover Litchfield Hills, tourism calendars. We're saving all of our constituents so much time by aggregating all of this data. Here's a little heat map of this is the next 90 days where our events are taking place. As you can see, we really try to reach all the corners of our rural region and make sure that everyone's taking advantage of these resources. And oops. Oh. So this is overall visibility for the last 12 months. We had over 7.5 million views on calendar events, which is incredible, I think, for a rural area. We had about 175,000 people clicking on individual events, and then we have some information here on our biggest posters, a lot of libraries. Outside of those very core services we provide, we also do one big strategic initiative each year. So here's just a little overview of the last 3 years. In 2024, like I mentioned, we did the post-COVID research project to assess needs within the sector. Last year, we hosted a creative economy summit. It's like a conference where we hosted a bunch of resources for creative business owners, nonprofits, and the creative ecosystem as a whole to connect and take advantage of some of these grant funding programs and just spreading information about the opportunities that are out there. And this year, I'm very excited. We are undertaking a 3-part research initiative to study how artificial intelligence can be used to further build infrastructure for the cultural nonprofit sector here in Northwest Connecticut. Right now, we're in phase 2. We're doing a series of pilot projects in collaboration with our nonprofit organizations. The most exciting of which, in my opinion, we are working with a cohort of 3 libraries to help automate and aggregate their circulation statistics. And it might not sound that exciting, but it's going to save them a lot of time, and they're very excited. So we're very excited about the project. The goal is to find ways to create these systems so that they can be shared more broadly and hopefully save a lot of time for our small nonprofit workers in the region and beyond. So thank you very much. And thank you again for your support of the Arts Council.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Thanks for taking time. It's inspiring the work that you do, and You know, it's an extension of our mission to support the economy of the region and
Hello.
nope, hello. Thank you, Steph. We're pleased to support the Arts Council, and you do amazing work. I'm pleased and proud to be a partner with you. So,
Thank you.
and last on our agenda today, word by word, and I just talking about inspiring and a unique program that just captured my imagination when the first time I sat down with Bill. I was like, I just need to be a part of this. I want to know how we can help you do what you do here. So let me make a brief introduction. So this is about Word by Word, the Word by Word Festival, and Bill Yelly, who's going to speak in a moment, is the director of the Word by Word Festival. It was founded in 2009 as a week-long spoken word and poetry festival held each August in the Upstreet Cultural District of downtown Pittsfield. The festival, and I'm reading, language that I pulled from your website, Bill. So the festival created a transient community of visiting nationally recognized spoken word artists, local poets, and enthusiastic audiences in celebration of diversity and the creative use of language. So, Bill, thank you again for taking the time to be here. I'm inspired every time I have coffee with you and learn about what you're doing and who you're working with. So take it away. Thanks, Bill.
All right. Thanks. I'm feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome at the moment because we are very, very small. The description you gave was what we were, not necessarily what we are, because we're an evolving idea. We respond to the times. But we're still focused around spoken word and creating in-person engagement. We're not a publisher. We don't record things. We're very transient, and we don't leave any artifacts in our wake. So I think the easiest, probably the best way to learn about us is just describe a little bit about what we currently do. There's a photo there. The thing we do in the off season, we've sort of focused still on the summer, is Poets Creating Conversation, which started in 2017. I talked to Dennis Powell at the NAACP, and we were talking about that all of these celebrations of Martin Luther King's life were on Sundays, and there's this holiday on Monday that no one ever does anything on except shop. So we decided to do something on a Monday night at the Berkshire Museum, which at the time was a very good host for us. And I called it A Letter from Pittsfield. And the only requirement to participate was you whatever you were to present had to connect in some way with the legacy or the repercussions or the ripples that come out of Martin Luther King's life. And I was shocked. First of all, we had 24, I want to say about 24 poets signed up, ranging in age from 14 years old to their 80s, including someone who had actually walked with Martin Luther King in the South during those events. And the audience we were in a gallery, not in a theater. We like to use borrowed spaces, and we were in a gallery, and the audience was full. And I happen to know at least one couple that brought another couple to this event. And after this thing happened, it occurred to me that the poems were speaking to each other, even though they were all sort of circling around this one center point, and that the poems were also talking to the audience. And that the audience afterwards, a lot of them stayed and were having conversations in the room with the poets or between whoever they rode in a car with. And then I imagine in my head that on the way home, there's conversations in the car. So I thought, well, let's try this thing, Poets Creating Conversation. So you have to picture 2017, what the political climate was, what the sort of cultural climate was. So our first one we did after that was actually Education in America that happened. Our event happened about a week after the Parkland shooting. And at that event, we had we always ask poets to pre-register. Anyone can do it, but I want to know they're coming, and I want them to make a commitment by signing up. This older gentleman showed up with his wife. They came in very early. I said, "Are you here to listen?" He said, "Well, I have a poem I want to read." And I said, "Well, we don't usually do that." Sure. turns out they lived very close to Parkland, the Parkland School. Whatever, I can't remember the name of the school, but I guess it was Parkland. Sorry, old brain. And this man read this poem, and afterwards he explained that he had never written a poem in his life, but he was so upset that night he set up writing all night. And they happened to be in the Berkshires. I guess they had a second home. I don't really even know anything about them. And his wife said, "Well, you should read this somewhere." And I said, "This is the most beautiful thing, because this event inspired him to write, and the need to share it with a live audience." So we did. These used to be all called Poets Creating Conversation, and the event would be Education in America, Gender in America, Aging in America. So they're always sort of reflecting on what was going on in our culture, and they were really they always defied my expectations. I always thought I knew what they would be about, and they never were what I thought they were about. And I used to use it an example that, like, I imagine there's someone in the audience who looks like my mother, and there's a person next to them that appears to be a man, but they're in a dress, and gets up there and does a poem, and nobody's head explodes. That the experience shared in that space somehow changed both parties' lives, actually everyone in the room's life. So that program has kind of evolved over time. People have gotten tired of, I don't know, we've all just gotten worn down, but we still do that program in the off season. We do it. This year we did it at the Unitarian Church in Pittsfield, because the Berkshire Museum is sort of in transition. It was closed for about a year and a half. It has a new director who doesn't quite understand our connection to community. So we do it at church there. Anyone can participate. We throw out a monthly theme, in a sense, that we just ask them to circle around it. And it always will surprise you how people connect with that theme. Those events generally, about 30 people come to them. Half of them are poets, half of them are audience. But that's something that we're still doing, and we're trying to figure out how to move that forward into the future. The sort of core of what we do now is we do outdoors at the Mount, and this is sort of necessitated by, COVID kind of sprung this opportunity on us. But pre-COVID, we actually did our first walking with Word by Word, and we did it in partnership with Lift Every Voice in 2017. And the idea was, there's these sculptures at the Mount. We would just invite, at that time, any artist, mostly poets, but there were some dancers and I think one musician, to kind of identify a sculpture and just respond, not necessarily to explain this sculpture or to even represent the artist fairly or accurately, but to sort of respond to what had happened to you when you saw this. The way when you see public art, sometimes you say, that looks like a guy picking his nose, and that's not at all what the artist meant. So the audience, the beauty of these things is the audience walks with us, and the poets also walk with us. And the conversations that happen along the way as people meet each other and feel free to talk about the poem they just heard or the sculpture they just stood in front of. The benefit for the sculptures, I think, is that most people speed walk through a sculpture exhibit, and we make them stand at a sculpture for 3 or more minutes looking at the sculpture. So that is one of our most successful things. It has fans that actually make their trip to the Berkshire to see that event. We did 3 of them this summer. There's a photo right now of one of the poets being very brave and sitting inside of the tick-infested weeds at the Mount. Yeah. I hope they had a tick check afterwards. It's just a beautiful event. It's hard to explain unless you're there, which is kind of true of everything we do. So that's sort of one of the programs we do at the Mount. The other one we do is sort of my mad scientist. I had this idea to do the world's largest poem. And I wanted to do this in 2020 with the idea that if you had 100 poets collaborating on a poem and you weighed them all, let's just say you give them an average weight of 150 pounds, you're talking about a 15,000 pound poem. So it's not a long poem, it's a large poem. You'd have to fit them in a giant freight elevator if you packed them shoulder to shoulder. So we got COVIDed out the first summer we were going to do this. We couldn't do it. The second summer we were still living in the COVID bubble, and we tried it as a walking event where the poets were scattered 6 feet apart along a path at the Mount, and the audience walked through in small groups, and heard the poem as they walked through it. It turned out to be not very practical because people walk at different speeds. And the other sad thing was the poets at the end of the line never heard the poem at the beginning of the line. So in a subsequent year, we got forced into the tent at the Mount, and we still do this program. I no longer call it the world's largest poem because I have no idea if there's a bigger poem somewhere. I just call it a very large poem. This year we had 32 poets participate. They're arranged in a semicircle in front of the audience, and the poem moves through the circle and back. We've done it with as many as 60 poets, many as few. This year 32 is the fewest because my brain kind of can't handle managing that many poets because each poet has a day to respond to a word that they're given from the previous poem. And wrangling that many poets who are not all on email, not all reliably checking their text messages, etc., is stressful for me in my role as poet wrangler, which is my preferred title. So we did that this year. The history of word by word and other events we do, we've migrated or evolved into lots of things. We've done a lot of pop-up events. We'll do something this fall somewhere. We like to partner with other organizations. In the last 10 years, we've done stuff at Mass Boca twice, stuff at Gallery 51, stuff at the Lichtenstein Center in Pittsfield. But we've downtown Pittsfield, the dynamics down there have changed. So we're no longer just affiliated solely with downtown Pittsfield. In terms of how many people come to our things and stuff, our numbers are not impressive really, unless you look at other poetry events that you might have gone to. I mean, this year we've so far had 426 people attend our events. We've had 49 poets participate in at least one event. We still borrow facilities. Our core operating principles are that we're accessible. We will never charge money. We want to be in places that feel safe for people to attend. We want to make our events open to any poet who wants to take the challenge, because there's always a challenge. And we want to encourage people to experience community with us. So the event brings people together, and because they're forced into the shared space, there's always these conversations. Some of my favorite ones are the people who now plan their Berkshires to come up to Tanglewood's matinee and then come over to our event at the Mount and then have a picnic and go back to Connecticut. So there's a Connecticut connection for you. I have at least 2 couples who do that every week. So that's kind of it. I mean, there's a long history and we could go anywhere. I don't know what'll happen next, but those are the things we did this year. And Dan knows we've done years. We did 3 years where we did teen youth events centered around Poetry Slam. Those were a number of years ago. We've done other outdoor events. We'll respond to any opportunity, but we aren't a thing because I don't have any poets. We don't have this posse. People think I have a posse of poets, and I don't. We just put out a challenge and people take it. That's it. That's what we are, and we leave no trace. Thanks, Dan.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Bill. It's why, after I had sat with you the first time and had coffee, I was inspired then, and I remain inspired now, carrying on the history of literature and art and culture in the region. It's just another iteration of what keeps us alive and thriving here. And it's people like you that keep driving these programs forward and engaging people, looking at a new way to create poetry, to create art, create literature. So thanks to all of our presenters. We did run over a little bit on time today. I cannot thank you, each and every one of you, enough. The presenters today that manage these inspiring programs, to the Board of Trustees that allow us to continue to do this work. And I hope we can do it long into the future. And Rob, esteemed chair of the board, thank you once again. I don't know if you wanted to a parting remark or anything?
No, inspired was the word. I think that was, I started with that and I end with that. This was amazing and inspiring. And thank you, Dan, and to everybody who uh, benefits from and participates in Housatonic Heritage programs.
Great. Thank you all for joining, and we'll post this to YouTube forevermore to be viewed. So thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of your
you.
day.
Thank
Yeah,
you, thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.